As many of you know, in 2014, A Voice for Men acquired the whiteribbon.org internet domain. White Ribbon is a long-established icon for social causes. Its first use, as far as we know, dates back to the Women's Christian Temperance Movement in 1874 and the related National British Women's Total Abstinence Educational Union in 1893. It has since been used as an emblem for the White Ribbon Alliance for Health of Mothers, the Peace Movement of Quebec, Canada, as a symbol of solidarity in Russia, and as a symbol of the net neutrality movement, among other numerous campaigns. No one has or should have an international claim of ownership to the name. Shortly after acquiring the domain, we transferred ownership of it to domestic violence pioneer Arndt, the founder of the Women's Shelter Movement in 1971. We also provided free web hosting in order to give her a platform for her vital work educating the public about domestic violence from an evidence-based perspective. Erin does this work as a volunteer, collecting no income, and continues working to this day, even as a pensioner who has suffered a stroke. And she does so in the face of an aggressive domestic violence industry that runs on a patently false model of the problem. White Ribbon Australia, an organization that raises millions of dollars annually using an ideological model of domestic violence, has filed a complaint with the Worldwide Intellectual Property Organization, also known as WIPO, over ownership of the domain. They want to take whiteribbon.org from Arndt. According to what they have put on the public record, the driving force behind their actions is at least partially ideological. A statement about this, linked in the low bar, is referenced on Wikipedia, and I quote, "A new website launched in 2014 by A Voice for Men and now run by Arndt and hosted by A Voice for Men. The site features interviews with scholars of domestic violence such as Marie A. Strauss and Gerhard Arndt, and presents the view that domestic violence is perpetuated equally by women and men." The site was harshly criticized by Todd Minerson, executive director of the White Ribbon Campaign Australia, who described it as a copycat campaign articulating their archaic views and denials about the realities of gender-based violence, unquote. According to Minerson, whose qualifications include a bachelor's degree in history, the most noted luminaries on domestic violence in the world, including the woman who started the shelter movement for domestic violence victims, are suffering from denial and an archaic worldview. At least in his statement, Minerson acknowledged a clear difference between Arndt whiteribbon.org and White Ribbon Australia, which fundraises on the completely debunked fallacy that only men commit domestic violence and only women suffer as victims from it. That is the theme from which White Ribbon Australia collects millions of dollars per year without providing support services or any other form of direct assistance to victims of either sex, and from which their financial statements show they appear mainly to pay themselves quite well and enjoy travel. Their financials are also linked in the low bar. You will also find links in the low bar to concerns raised by investigative journalists over White Ribbon Australia's practices with fundraising and spending. According to their filing, White Ribbon Australia is seeking to discredit Arndt as acting in bad faith and is attempting to muscle the domain from her possession. We cannot and simply will not stand by and watch this happen without taking action to defend Arndt and the nearly half-century of work she has done for domestic violence victims, as well as the work she has done to help bring healing and rehabilitation to perpetrators. At this point, we have enlisted attorneys to defend Arndt in this case. To pay them, we will need your help. Be advised that, like Arndt AVFM will retain absolutely no money from this effort. We have been given very reasonable terms by compassionate attorneys. The expenses for her defense will be announced in a crowdfunder within the next few days. Any money collected that is over and above the expenses and overheads for the case will be donated in full to an Australian-based organization dedicated to male victims of domestic violence. In the interest of transparency, AVFM Education LLC will publish an account of aggregate income and itemized expenses after WIPO hands down its decision and the affair is finalized. AVFM is fully supporting Aaron in fighting this case as vigorously as possible. We are asking you to do the same when the crowdfunder launches later this week. Thank you.